Belichick's New England Patriots are one of the premier football teams in the NFL, and one of the reasons that they are the premier football team that they are is because of Tom Brady. Now, I would like to see what would have happened to the New England Patriots and Bill Belichick had Tom Brady never showed up on the scene. But let's face it, Brady is a big reason why the New England Patriots were as successful for Bill Belichick as they were, man, because this
Absolutely.
Brady is a competitor, and, you know, he just has enough athleticism to get the job done. He's not a guy that's going to run up and down the field like Johnny Manziel or try to run up and down the field. You know, like Sam Rutigliano will tell you, there's no running quarterbacks that aren't in wheelchairs at the end of their career, man. Or, you know. So,
Brother, I'm with you,
take
man.
it for what it is. This Manziel, you know, I talked to you about my conversation with Herman Fontenot, who is down in Texas and saw a lot of Johnny Manziel playing football. And Herman is very concerned about his antics aren't going to work in the NFL. This is in college, man. The game's so much faster. But I think Hoyer's success is the maturity that comes with his time served in the NFL. And I think if you look at the history of the Cleveland quarterbacks since 1999 and now, we ruined a lot of them, J-Rock. We had Tim Couch, who was a pretty darn good quarterback. Obviously, we couldn't protect him. We had zero offensive line. The guy got the tar beat out of him game after game after game. We ruined his shoulder. We ruined his arm from all the hits he unnecessarily had to take. But when you don't have any protection, that's what happens. We took Brady Quinn. He could never develop into anything. And then I guess you could argue, well, Quinn never developed into anything with any other team that he went to either. But we took Colt McCoy, who was a competitor, one of the most winningest quarterbacks in the history of the NCAA, and we threw him into the fire because of injuries. We saw him be pretty successful his first year, beating the Saints and doing well against the Steelers when we put him in there. But come on, man. You got to have the package out there on the field, which is protecting your quarterback. You got to have a solid offensive line. We had absolutely no running game last year. I mean, it was a joke, J-Rock. Now you got Deion Lewis coming back this year. A lot of people don't even mention Deion Lewis's name, but this guy's a beast, man. And until he broke his leg last year, he was impressive as all get out. And you're going to have Ben Tate there. We're going to have a solid running game this year, man. You got some good offensive linemen, Joe Thomas, obviously Alex Mack. You got this new guy coming in, man. I'm not sure what they're going to do with Jason Pinkston, if he'll ever get medically cleared to play. I'm not sure. I have a feeling Pinkston's still suffering from blood clots, even though it's not out there. But when I read on his Twitter account that he didn't shave or get a haircut for like over 30 days, that leads me to believe he's taking blood thinners, J-Rock, and the reason he's not shaving is he's afraid to cut his face. He'll bleed to death.
That's exactly what it is, and I obviously can't tell you that. I know some people that know him, and that's one of the issues. The blood thinners is true. That's why a lot of people have noticed that he's said, "Man, this is terrible. I can't shave. I can't." It's because of that. It's because of the medicine that he's on. And I got to tell you, man, it's up in the air whether his career continues or not. And it is absolutely killing Jason Pinkston not to be out there playing right now.
He's bored out of his head, and again, I'm going to miss his presence on the field because he's a veteran, and you know, even bringing in a rookie offensive lineman and saying, "Okay, buddy, here you go." I mean, there's a learning curve, Rock,
for sure.
You know,
but I mean, again, LG, I'll tell you what. The next week can't go by fast enough for you, me, or anybody else, because at least then we get into the more of the regular season routine, as far as there's at least a game, as much as it doesn't mean anything, but we're getting more into that routine, and we'll get to see some comparisons of game scenarios and all of that, you know, because just like the players, they're getting at this point.
When you make a comparison and say there's a game that may not mean anything, to me that's a slap in the face to every guy that's out there trying to win a job on an NFL football team, because maybe those games don't mean anything in the stats, but I guess when me and you were kids, J-Rock, that's how a football team was built, man. You saw what these guys could do in those preseason games, and that's what your decisions were based off of, man. Did these guys go out there Can they make the plays? Can they make things happen? Can they get in there and sack the quarterback? And, I feel bad because we all know if Hoyer is going to be the starter, he's not going to get that much playing time in these preseason games, maybe a quarter. And then they're going to throw Johnny Manziel into the fire. And there's some defensive guys that just want to wipe that cockiness right off Johnny Manziel's face, man. To their coach, they'll be a star when they hit Johnny Manziel and knock that cockiness right off of his face.
He's just another player on the field.
Manziel may not make it to the regular season, J-Rock.
I don't even think he's got that big of a target. I got to tell you, I think 90% of the players in the NFL could care less about Jon Manziel. He's just another guy on another team that they've got to play. It's so blown out of proportion. But you're right. There's going to be some people that go after him. But most people, they don't even know who half the players in the league probably don't even know who the kid is. I know somebody just gasped and said, oh, how could you not know who he is? There's tons of people that have no clue who the kid is. Real quick, just jokingly, I got to say this just to get this out of my system. The National Sports Card Show is this morning or today, and I saw an ad in the paper for it, and they had some exclusive items listed that they were going to have for sale. And since it's Cleveland, they added, because I've seen their ad in other towns. Well, it's the exact same ad, except because it's Cleveland, they added a little bubble on the front that says, we've added exclusive LeBron James and Johnny Manziel collectibles, and I saw an autographed jersey of Manziel that they're asking $10,000 for. And I mean this with no disrespect, but there is nothing short of a $10,000 bill autographed by Johnny Manziel that somebody should pay $10,000 for. Now, if you're going to give me a $10,000 bill back, then I'll pay for it. Other than that, what in the world is some college kid's jersey who may never play a down in the NFL? Even if you want to say as a prospect, it's worth a few bucks. $10,000? Are you smoking crack?
Well, that's it, J-Rock. I mean,
$10,000? Come on.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Just like, he's got all these jerseys being sold. It reminds me of the Cleveland Browns quarterback jerseys where the guy puts the duct tape on the back and crosses off all the other guys' names, I mean, why are you paying $140 or $110 for a guy's jersey that has not completed one NFL pass yet? His stats are zero at this point in time.
I'm just saying, Larry, if you called me right now and said, J-Rock, I got something autographed by Johnny Football, I want $10,000 for it. If it's not an autographed $10,000 bill, don't bother me. I don't want it, because that's about the only thing that's worth it.
Yeah, there's nothing worth anything yet as far as I'm concerned. But
I'm just
some
being
people,
funny.
there's this mad Manziel mania that started.
Of course.
One thing you got to give Johnny Manziel credit for is building this persona where people are just interested in everything Johnny Manziel does. Otherwise, we wouldn't see a Twitter picture or this or that, or him at the $2 bar, or him at a party in Vegas, or him partying with Justin Bieber. I mean, right there, you got to deduct some money off of any Manziel collectible when you hear he's partying with Justin Bieber.
Hey, listen. Let's leave. I got you, but I mean, hey, let's leave the kid alone. I'm not trying to pile on him. I want him to be good eventually.
Well, I'm not piling on him. I'm just saying what's real is real, and the real thing is, I know you don't want to go by all the numbers or whatever the case may be.
No, I didn't say that. I'm just saying that can be tricky because, hey, Vashon in the chat room had a great point. I mean, that Jake Delhomme, he threw 80% completion percentage throughout the camp and preseason, completed 80% of his passes, and you saw how the Jake Delhomme experiment went. All I'm saying is that the preseason's tricky. Like, yes, you can, and I don't mean the games. I mean the practices too. It's tricky. Yes, that helps. I mean, clearly, if a guy is missing 75% of his passes, that's a fire alarm that there's something you need to do there. But what I'm saying is you got to be careful, too, because especially with Manziel, he's playing with various groups. There's a few ones mixed in, mostly twos.
Well, obviously, you got the talent levels going to be different from the first-team guys to the second-team guys to the guys that are just trying to make the team.
Tomorrow will be a great way to do what you're doing, because at least then you can say, okay, here's what Manziel did against the twos. Here's what he did against the ones. Here's what Hoyer did against the one. At least you're comparing apples to apples and not apples to oranges. But still, there's so much other. There's receivers cutting the wrong way, dropping the pass, etc. Different, all of that stuff. So, but you're right. It's a guide. It's a guide. It's just you can't use it as your Bible either. You know.
Right.
Does that make sense?
I agree. That's what I said. The talent level's different, obviously, but he's coming out for Manziel from so many people that they're lost, and I'm just trying to be cautious here that this pressure doesn't affect any of our coaches' decisions. Now you got Kyle Shanahan coming out right now saying neither Manziel nor Hoyer is ahead. So, I don't understand.
I got to be honest with you. I'm not worried about what a guy who lost his last job in the NFL thinks. I'm just saying. I mean,
right.
I saw that, and I'm like, the term is ex-general manager for a reason, man. But I appreciate people's opinions. And you know what? Hey, outside of Cleveland, some people are starting to come to that point. My point that I continue to make with Hoyer and Manziel is that I don't know where Brian Hoyer stacks up with the other NFL quarterbacks, but he's definitely head and shoulders better than Jon Manziel right now. So I'm going to go back to the line that I keep throwing out at you guys. If you think Brian Hoyer stinks and Johnny Manziel's not as good as him, then put him where you want. You put him on the chart wherever you want. But if NFL Network's got Hoyer ranked 29th or 30th, then Manziel will be ranked 60th or 70th. So I'm just saying. I mean, it's relative, man. At the end of the day, I don't know. Maybe outside of Cleveland, they both end up stinking. Maybe no matter who the quarterback is, the Browns win 2 games. I don't see that, but I'm just saying, we'll get a better view when they start playing against other teams. But, I mean, anybody at this point, it takes you 2 seconds to go, oh, that's the difference. And the national media has changed their perspective. Anybody at this point that's still beating the Manziel right now train, you're just stubborn and you're just, I don't know, you're talking to hear yourself talk because you haven't actually seen anything. Because if you have, I've seen. My own 2 eyes have shown me, and it took me about 30 seconds to go, wow, there's a difference. I'm not saying that it can't be closed, that the gap can't be closed. But there is such a just a completely noticeable difference. I mean, it is lights out, day and night difference between the two right now. If you don't agree, then you're just being stubborn. You're just being stubborn. Somebody's calling you, LG.
For it too, J-Rock.
Somebody's calling you.
What's that?
Somebody's calling you, LG.
Oh, hey, I'm not going to interrupt that call just because somebody's calling me, man. But I got to tell you one thing right now. The reason is the NFL maturity level. People don't take that in consideration. Those are people that don't know the game of NFL football, J-Rock. And as I keep going back to, and I'm going to go back to it one more time, hopefully we can pound this through a couple people's heads.
You're about to say Brandon Weeden, aren't you?
There's 0.5% of all college players that get the glory of stepping onto an NFL team roster. 0.5%, J-Rock, in the entire world. That's a very small percentage of men that have what it takes to play NFL football and make it onto an NFL football roster. And, if you think about how many colleges there are just in the United States, okay, and you think about how many football players there are in each college team, 0.5% is a very small percentage of these men that are good enough to play into the NFL. Now let's look at Johnny Manziel just one more time before we end this conversation. Manziel has 2 years of college football behind him, okay? There was a lot of gimmicky stuff Manziel was able to get away with in college that isn't going to happen in the NFL. The defenses are trained killers in the NFL. These are the fastest of the fast that come out of college and make it onto an NFL defense. Hoyer learned his lesson last year, unfortunately, in the Buffalo Bills game, getting hit by a linebacker from behind, taken down the way he was taken down, and his knee was blown out. It only takes one split second for something like that to happen with these NFL defensive players coming at a guy that weighs, 100 pounds less than they do.